Okay, what we're doing today here, I'm heating up some water. Well, let's start off at the beginning. I want to add a little bit of fermentables to this beer. I was a little bit inefficient in my mash. This is an all-grain brew, and my alcohol is a little bit low, and I thought I was going to put sugar in it, and I thought, you know, I'm going to take some cracked grain, like right there, 2 pounds of it, and I'm going to do a brew in a bag sort of thing. Right here. Because I use this for flavoring malts sometimes. And I'm going to put that in there, get it up to around 150, and leave it for about an hour, and we'll see what it does. I should get sugar water out of this. I'll boil it down to a low volume. I got 1 gallon of water in there and 2 pounds of cracked grain. So I'm going to go through this process, and we'll see if I can add sugar by just using the malt. One thing I did want to show is I found this little doohickey. Water's getting a little hot here, and kind of a strainer thing we had floating around in here. Isn't that cute? That keeps the bag off the bottom. I'm going to be turning this down because our temperature is already up to 157, 145 to center, 155, okay. So we're probably up to about temperature. Okay, I'm going to put the bag in, let it kind of get pushed down and spread out in there, and we're going to let this silly thing soak for a while. It's going to go for 1 hour, just like I would do the mash. I get a temperature probe in here to do the best I can. These temperature probes are really not, the temperature probes themselves are accurate, but the measurements really aren't. It's really hard to get these things to where they're right. I'm showing 129 degrees, which probably is about right. Hopefully, maybe. And I'm going to go ahead and get the timer started. Okay, here's my little brew in a bag thing. I actually left it 1 hour and 10 minutes. So I'm going to let this thing kind of drain out, and we will test it with both a hydrometer and a refractometer, and then I'm going to start boiling it down. So rather than wait for this thing forever, we'll let this kind of drain. Here's my little doohickey, and essentially I've got this wort sitting here. I'm going to take a sample of it for the hydrometer, and I'm going to take a couple of samples for the refractometer, and we'll see what we come up with. Okay, what we've been doing here is testing. I've done the refractometer. I think we're going to be about between 13.5 and 14. I'm also, if you look here, you'll see I'm cooling down the Wine Thief. It's still a little bit too hot. Let's see what it is. It's 84 degrees. I'm going to give this a little more time to cool down, and we'll see how it compares to the refractometer. Also, I'm starting to heat this wort up. I'm going to start boiling it. As soon as it starts boiling, I'm going to start a timer, and I'll probably go for about an hour or until it gets to about half of the level. I have 1 gallon of water in there, and I'd like to put into the wort, the fermenting wort, less than a half gallon, and we'll see how this works out. I'll also do the specific gravity test again before I finish up with this wort. Continuing with our little experiment by adding for adding sugar rather than just adding sugar, taking malt and producing sugar with it. I boiled it down. Remember, I started with 1 gallon of water, put my bag full of rice, or my bag full of grain in there, and I boiled it down to little less than a quart, maybe just right about a quart. Of course, the sugar percentage went way up as it went. I think the bricks was something like 30 last time I checked. Well, okay, I put this thing into secondary, and you can see we're pretty active here. You can see all the foam on top. There's bubbles going everywhere in this thing, and of course it's filled up the P-trap, and I'm going to have to dump that P-trap out because it's getting a little bit out of hand. Yeah, it's cooking and booking here. A very active fermentation. I usually get a little bit of a bump when I go into secondary anyway, but this one was quite the bump. It really took off. I'll never be able to tell actually what the alcohol content has been increased to. It was about 6.5, I think, beforehand, but I'm not going to be able to determine it. I'll probably have to determine it by taste. But anyway, it is very active and it's doing its thing. So I actually think this is viable. It takes a lot longer. I was involved with this silly thing a couple hours at least. Where adding sugar, all I'd have to do is boil the water, then let it cool a little bit, put the sugar in, and get it all mixed up, and then get it cooled down and put it in. This took probably an hour longer because of the malt and everything. But anyway, that's a cute little thing. You can see it's just having a ball, popping and bubbling and doing its thing. That's the adding alcohol by using malted grain.